The Little Red Riding Hood. Once upon a time, there was a little girl named Little Red Riding Hood who lived in a small village with her mother. She was called Little Red Riding Hood because she always wore a red hooded cloak that her grandmother had made for her. One day, her mother asked her to take a basket of food to her grandmother who lived in the woods. Little Red Riding Hood was very excited to visit her grandmother and immediately set off on her journey. Along the way, she met a sly and cunning wolf who asked her where she was going. Little Red Riding Hood, being a kind and innocent girl, told the wolf about her journey. The wolf pretended to be friendly and suggested that Little Red Riding Hood should pick some flowers for her grandmother on her way. Little Red Riding Hood agreed, and went to pick some flowers while the wolf went to the grandmother's house. When the wolf arrived at the grandmother's house, he pretended to be Little Red Riding Hood and knocked on the door. The grandmother, who was hard of hearing, thought it was Little Red Riding Hood and let the wolf in. The wolf then gobbled up the grandmother and put on her clothes and waited for Little Red Riding Hood to arrive. When Little Red Riding Hood arrived, the wolf pretended to be her grandmother and asked her to come closer. Little Red Riding Hood noticed that her grandmother looked strange and asked the wolf why her eyes were so big, her ears were so big, and her teeth were so big. The wolf replied that it was so that he could see her better, hear her better, and eat her better. Little Red Riding Hood realized that the wolf was not her grandmother and tried to run away, but the wolf caught her and gobbled her up too. Just then, a woodsman who was passing by heard the wolf's loud snoring and went to investigate. When he saw what had happened, he quickly cut open the wolf's belly and rescued Little Red Riding Hood and her grandmother. They were both very grateful to the woodsman for saving their lives. From then on, Little Red Riding Hood never spoke to strangers on her journey and always listened to her mother's advice. The wolf learned his lesson and never bothered anyone again. And they all lived happily ever after. The moral of the story of Little Red Riding Hood is to be cautious and not to trust strangers. The story teaches children to be aware of their surroundings, and to listen to the advice of their parents or guardians. It also emphasizes the importance of seeking help from others when in danger, as the woodsman was able to save Little Red Riding Hood and her grandmother from the wolf's deception. Overall, the story encourages children to be vigilant and to always be on their guard against potential dangers. We hope that you enjoyed listening to us and we'll see you again in the next chapter.